Hey there, dreamers! It's me, Delirium Dreamer, and we are here at week 1 of our Kaijune workshop series, and we are going to be talking about textures and anatomy. We've had the privilege and the honor of 2 of our server members put together some videos for us, which I will be narrating what they're doing in. Johnny Garlic and Riznotch have taken time to put together these videos for us, which I'm so grateful for. Thank you guys so much. They are incredible artists in general. If you have not seen their work, please go do. You will understand why I asked them for help in this process. These guys definitely demonstrate some very advanced skills, and we're in good hands when we watch them and what they do. Looking forward to what I can accomplish after learning from them. I hope that you all feel like you get to accomplish some amazing things as well, and that it elevates your art, as we want you to create the pieces that benefit your portfolio and help you grow wherever you're at as an artist. Just begin. Create that monster with us and come join our server, because we're going to have some in-person workshop times. We're not covering everything in these videos. Whatever we don't cover today, we're happy to cover it inside of our server during our live workshop times, and also just in general, if you have a question, we're happy to try to answer that for you, because we're problem solvers as artists. Let's begin this amazing journey as we create our own monster and our own amazing epic piece. Week 1. The instruction has begun.
We begin with anatomy, specifically head-on anatomy, the looking right at you type. Here in a moment we will have Riznotch, also known as Rich, demonstrate for us using the bubble and sticks method some elements of the Loomis method. I have some of my favorite pages from his book, Figure Drawing for All It's Worth, featured in this section because I find them helpful. Feel free to pause video if you wish to study them longer. On one page, Loomis shows some of the most commonly drawn proportions, and on the next page he has the more ideal proportions for anatomy, so the more realistic proportion. I enjoy how he breaks it down into head. As a person who struggles with measurements, every head size is different, so no matter what size head you draw, you're able to get something somewhat proportionate with this, and it's my favorite. Highly recommend getting your hands on them too. They are very helpful. As we watch Rich draw, you will find that he is using these methods. We're just doing the basic mapping of some structure here. Head, neck, spine, shoulders, upper arms, elbows, so on and so forth. I find that adding the joint points is crucial to mapping the body. It keeps the measurements bite-sized versus trying to just draw an arm. Creating this sort of basic mesh and structure can be a great starting point for any figure of any kind. Adding perspective. When you add perspective to a figure, it can be quite the advanced move. It creates a dynamic element to an image and can help create story and movement. In figuring out how you want to present your monster and doing some small, simple sketches, you can begin to prepare your creature for the setting it deserves. In this demonstration, we can see how one shoulder begins to appear higher and closer than the other. This is because when you set up your perspective with your known horizon and vanishing points, your figure will be drawn in connection to those vanishing points. This creates fun things like foreshortening. The Loomis method does go into loads more details about drawing like a flat map and building off of that to really understand a few things, but we can explore that together at another time. Next, we will be mapping out the monster. I know we've been going over all sorts of human anatomy, and you're probably thinking, where's the monster at? Fun thing about anatomy, the principles and practices will be the same. You're just tweaking and warping some things because it's a creature. As long as you're keeping within the realms of your perspective maps and understand what parts are seen and what parts won't be, things will come through better and better each time you sit down and draw. Riznotch here demonstrates for us a little classic kaiju. You can see how he starts everything the same, but he is sure to cover all his bases with the head, neck, spine, shoulders, arms, hips, legs, etc. From there, he will get to add the body blocking and begin prepping for things like textures. If this were his actual piece, he would be mapping out all of this in accordance to his horizon line and vanishing points and within the chosen perspective. My favorite part about his lesson was describing the leg bits and arm bits like drumsticks. For some reason, that makes more sense to me than block shapes. Moving on. Textures. I love me some textures. Johnny Garlic will be doing the next set of demonstrations. If you don't know what kind of texture you want yet, that's totally fine. I encourage you to just surf through some images of wildlife, plants, bugs, etc., or I guess just Google textures. If you find one that you love, figure out what creature you could create out of it. Remember, this does not have to be a scary monster. You can also make massive cute things. Anyways, the textures we are showing you today are some classics, fur and scales. No matter what you pick, you will follow the same basic steps. In this process, you're definitely going to want to have an idea where your light source will be coming from. This is going to be crucial in how you shade each scale and highlight each area of fur or fluff. Let's start with fur. Begin by laying out some rudimentary blocking. This is when that perspective mapping will be at play too. From the outside in, you will begin making some V shapes and hatches. Curved, curly, jagged, long, short, just depends on what kind of fur you're going for. Here we went with that charming werewolf fur. Anyway, you will repeat this process throughout all of your negative space, keeping in mind your light source. Areas that will receive less light will need to be darker. You can achieve this by layering more hatches and V-shapes to those specific areas. Next, we have scales. Scales, you'll begin in the same way, blocking out those rudimentary shapes, so the shape of your creature, but you're also going to map out things like your spines and scale shapes. These are going to be more or less to help you build texture on top of and to help make shading a lot easier. You lay this out as a grid or mesh that will wrap around the body. This will help keep those scales in perspective and make your creature look more normal than my last attempt at scales. This is what it can look like when you don't do any mapping. It's not terrible, but it's just not quite right. I still love this. This was technically an upgrade from this.
Wow!
Now I know why my piece came out the way it did. New powers unlocked. Anyway, once you've gotten everything in place, you begin adding in those extra details, smaller spines, cracks, spotting, etc. From here, it's all about maintaining that balance throughout. Remember where your light source is, even if that means you have to draw a circle off the paper elsewhere to help you remember. Personal experience, I can lose track of my light source when I'm zoned in the details and trenches of shading. Go layer by layer. It can be a somewhat grueling process, but it'll be worth it in the end, and it's a great way to train your brain so you get faster and it becomes less grueling. Alright, so let's recap. We went over our head-on anatomy, that looking right at you approach. We went over how Andrew Loomis is a great resource and you should all probably look into him if you haven't already. We went over the various common proportions in comparison to the ideal proportions across ages. Rich gave us our wonderful demonstrations on how to draw some of these methods, adding in perspective and how it affects the body, mapping the monster using the same principles as human anatomy but warping them a little bit, and lastly, adding a body around that skeleton. Then we had Johnny Garlic demonstrate for us elements of fur, where you start by creating rudimentary blockout, you work from the outside in, remembering fur typically flows from central body downwards and outwards. You want to create a series of curves in the V shapes, filling the negative spaces with more V shapes and hatches to create flow of fur. To create shadows, double up your hatches in appropriate areas. So where your light source isn't going to be hitting the most, that's where you're going to make darker. Scales, you're also going to create that rudimentary blockout, including things like your fins and your spines. You create a lightly drawn grid across your blockout. This grid will wrap and curve with the body. Determine your scale pattern and use grid to place your scales. Add appropriate extra details after scales are in place. Remember where your light source is. This will be crucial in shading and creating an even more dynamic and compelling image. All right, that's it for textures and anatomy this week, folks. Continue learning more about this. We'll see you in the server as we continue learning more ourselves, and tune in next week as we dig deeper into perspective and truly what that means when you're mapping out a perspective for your monster, or whatever you want to call it. Cute, big, ginormous, fluffy teddy bear thing. Who knows? Anyway, we'll see you next week, everybody. Keep creating and stay awesome. Bye!